Our guest today is a 37-year-old female pansexual monogamish switch, and she's a creative fountain and specialist in the arts of connection. She is into MMF three-ways, play parties, and dungeons, has spent time both as a dominant and more recently as a submissive, and is here to tell us what she has learned about sex toys for any body and negotiating with a partner about kinks. A kink-affirming, sex-educated, board-certified sexologist, model, content creator, designer of wearable art, published author, and writer of smut from Los Angeles, California. Welcome, Dr. Tiffany Chan.
Thank you so much. And man, I should have you write all my intros. That was fabulous. Thank you.
I can send you a copy of that one. I love writing people's intros, and I know it's kind of annoying the way that I like to gather details, but I really like being able to make my own system. So thank you. I'm glad you like it. Can you pretty please start off by telling our sweet listeners, if you had to rate yourself today on a sexual shame-o-meter with 10 being the most full of shame and 0 being like, I don't have any sexual shame, where do you fall today, and when, if ever, over the years, has your shame-o-coaster squiggled?
Oh my gosh. I would say at this point, I have no shame. I definitely have no shame. I've talked about everything on the internet that you could possibly imagine. There's very few things I haven't either done or talked about. In terms of my past, I definitely grew up with a lot of shame, thinking that there was something wrong with me, especially being queer, growing up and having a crush on my best girlfriend. And had no idea that that was something, to be ashamed of until, we're out and we're hanging around and people started looking and talking and saying things. And before I knew it, it was like, wow, something feels weird to me. So yeah, my shame has definitely gone away, but it took a lot of self-work to get to that point.
Totally hear that. And it's so funny. I still get like little attacks sometimes when I'm receiving someone else's shame at me. Like my most likely way of causing a trigger explosion is to like get triggered by triggering someone else accidentally. So I feel like I am ever a work in progress. Can you share with us how old you were approximately with that experience you mentioned with your girlfriend, like kind of like realizing people were looking or realizing there was a quote unquote opposite of social norm?
Oh gosh, I think we were probably about 14, 15. So it was like at the very beginning, I'd already had like a boyfriend or two by that point. And my best friend and I, like it was started out just like experimenting, like, what does this feel like? And of course, my parents had Skinamax in the house, and I don't think they quite realized that it was in my bedroom as well. So you start watching a lot of things and you get kind of curious. So yeah, we would hang out, and she would spend the night practically every night. And we were homeschooled, so it was kind of like got your schoolwork done during the day, and then we hung out. So we basically lived together for a good 2 or 3 months at a time, and then we would take a break for a while, and then we'd hang out again. So there was a lot of stuff going on. And my parents were they're poly, so growing up having parents that were very open-minded. And my mom is band photographer, and she did a lot of photography for High Times. So like being around such sort of flamboyant people that were very like, we don't care, just be safe, like just do you, be safe. The idea of like having that sort of shame was very weird. And then it didn't come from them, like it came
Right.
from everybody else. Like, why is this bad? I really love her. And before you knew it, we ended up getting told by her parents that we weren't allowed to see each other anymore, we're not allowed to hang out anymore. It turned into like an entire situation. We're friends today,
Okay.
but that was definitely an experience, I think, that shaped both of us as we got older.
Absolutely. So your parents were super open-minded and kind of sounds like loving types. I understand.
Very much. They didn't care as long as I had a good head on my shoulders, my grades were good, I wasn't getting my butt in any trouble, my nose
Yeah.
stayed clean. They didn't care. And that was kind of the way I thought everyone was. Being homeschooled, you're not around a bunch of public schoolers, and you
Right.
don't you don't see kind of what the rest of the world is like. So I feel like I had like a blessing of being super sheltered, but also a curse because I was out before realizing what out was. And
Yeah.
that's when the shame hit.
Interesting. It's almost like I kind of feel sometimes like, well, it's not like I ever like came out. I just was never in, or
Exactly.
like I didn't. Yeah. Did you ever get an explicit sex talk or sex education? I mean, if they were homeschooling you, then they gave you sex ed, or did you have any?
Oh, there was definitely sex ed. So the homeschooling program I had it was kind of like a blended study sort of thing. So I did like my core classes on a campus with a very small group of people, and then all my homework and all of my assignments I would do at home. And everything my mom turned into like some sort of an educational experience. We went to the park, go name a plant for me, like everything was something. And with sex ed, it was always so open-minded, like in terms of talking about it. And we had a family member who had HIV, and it was one of those things like, this is how you prevent it. This is what you don't do. These are the things that happen in the world. So I already kind of had like this weird understanding of it, and then learning about it through books. I'd go to the library. I would have assignments through my health class that I would have to take at school. And it was just such a, I don't know, it was so normal. And it's a weird experience to have that compared to how things are today. Yeah, it's one of those very surreal experiences growing up.
Yeah, yeah. I have my own version because I didn't grow up with an abundance of information. I was just told, like, don't get pressured into stuff, but I didn't know what to do. But I also did not understand how open-minded I was until I really went on this mission that started 7 years ago of being like, what do you think about sex? What do you like? What are you into? And it's only even in the last few years that I'm like, oh, people are that shamey about it sometimes. And so that's an interesting way to learn. When did you start to learn for yourself about yourself? Like, when did you learn to kind of like explore your own pleasure, and what sort of guidelines, if any, were you offered around that? Like, was it Skinemax?
Oh, Skinemax definitely was a big precursor to a lot of things.
Okay.
And imagine my surprise as I got older to realize that is not actually how sex really is in the real world. It's like a fantasy. It's an example. It's something, like you dream about, but it is absolutely not like that, somebody comes to your door and, oh, hey, come on, baby. That doesn't happen in real life very often, unless we, create the
Create the
scene
role
for
play.
something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but in terms of like exploring my own body, it's really funny. I have this conversation every now and again with my partner, and I started exploring myself really, really young, like probably middle school, high school. And
Mhm.
once I realized that I could hit a certain point that felt really, really good, I did it all the time. I would lock myself in my bedroom, and I would be like, I'd turn the music up real loud, and I had started writing like my own sort of fan fiction and eroticas and things like that, and putting all my
Okay.
fantasies down. And before I knew it, like I would be really, really turned on. Once I figured out how to press certain buttons, it was just hours a day where I'm like in there doing my own thing. So by the time I was already having sex and having relationships and things, it was very like, no, 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 don't do it that way. You do it this way. This is how I get there. I was very like demanding about it.
Okay. 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 So you literally mean pushing your own buttons, as in like clitoris, pleasure spots. Okay. Okay. My very literal brain always wants to make sure because sometimes we use metaphors very literally. Okay. So you were middle school, high school. Okay. Do you remember anything from your early years that were part of your learnings? Like, when did you first become aware of sex?
Oh gosh, I had been aware of sex for God, around the time that Skinemax was around, because it was such a big deal for us to have. We didn't have TV in the house for a very long time. My dad had gotten a really good job, so the first thing my mom did was go and she got HBO and Skinemax. And it was like the coolest thing. And we would all sit around and we'd be watching stuff. And then it was one night, I very distinctly remember being maybe 11, 12, and I turned the TV on at 11 o'clock. I couldn't sleep. So I turned the TV on and I'm like, whoa, what is this? This is the coolest shit ever. And I would watch that clock. Like, I don't know if you remember, way back in the day, there was a show called Real Sex.
I've
And
heard people talk about it, but I never had cable. So there's like so much that I never learned about.
there are some underground places that you can still find the old
Okay.
episodes because it is like banned across the board now. But it was the coolest show because it talked about they would interview people on the street and they would talk about their sex life, like what they like, blowjobs, eating out, like all the things. And then they would do clips of like little cartoons from way back in the day from the 70s and how it's changed. And they would talk about things like body hair and different types of kinks and elements like that, and it was so eye-opening. So that was sort of like my first initial, wow, this is sex, this is kind of cool, like people just talking about it, how fun is that? And as I started getting older and I would have like, my first jobs and stuff like that, I can remember a friend of mine at a coworker at the time, discussing like her relationship, and she had so much trouble with like talking about just, yeah, well, he always wants to do this and I really don't like it, but it's, not my thing, and but I do it for him because I love him. And I'm like, why
Mm.
if you don't like it, fucking say something. So I think I've always been this person of just, I want to talk about it, I want people to feel free to talk about it. Every human, we're on this planet for this much amount of time, not very long. Fucking get the sex you need, get the sex you want, get the sex you dream about. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, sex is like a transcendent co-created experience. I'm like, and every single energy is a different thing for me to experience and feel. So I'm like, I would like to have reasonable circumstances to try it with as many people as it makes sense. That's kind of my personal take. What would you say is sexy to you? Like, what feels sexy? What gets you excited? Or what is the definition of sexy?
Oh my gosh, I think for me the definition of sexy is confidence and comfort. Being confident in yourself and being comfortable with the person that you're with, or even just comfortable with ourselves. So many, like, especially when I'm talking to some of my clients, my female clients specifically, and they are so uncomfortable with themselves to the point where they can't even look themselves naked in the mirror.
Mm,
And that's a really like profound thing. Like, what is it like when you look at yourself in the mirror? Where are your eyes drawn? What is it that is bothering you, and how do we turn that around? How do we make that, like, you look in the mirror and you think you own the fact that you're a goddess, you are embodiment of pleasure, you can give it to yourself, you can give it to others. How awesome is that? And when that starts to sort of flip, it's an amazing thing. So I think for me, being sexy is being able to just love the skin that I'm in, all of its flaws, all the stuff that goes along with it, but know that this is a vessel that I get to give the most pleasure to whenever I want, and I get to use it to help give somebody else or multiple somebody else's pleasure too. That's, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes total sense to me. I have the benefit or challenge or whatever opportunity in this lifetime to have led people through some really personal, crinkly experiences. As a photographer, kind of one of my origin stories was helping people by taking pictures of them without clothes on, and then that kind of translated into taking pictures of people with their partner having intimate experiences. And I still do that sometimes, but now I have a lot of in-person experience, and so I've gotten to see up close, actually more so with penis having clients, just how much we the collective humans have, everyone seems to have something about their body they feel self-conscious about. So I totally hear that, and I love that you support people in that. Is that something that comes easily to you, or like, I know that I am only a teacher because of my own struggles. Like, what has your journey with that kind of like self-love been like?
It's definitely been, I think I'm able to have those conversations a lot more because I do bring a lot of my personal, experiences into it. And like, I remember what it felt like to look in the mirror and absolutely hate myself, to
Mm,
not want to even see it anymore. Like, I went through some really, really, really rough times several years ago. And it, like, before I got into this relationship, when I was really, I felt ashamed. I was a parent at that point. I felt like because I was a parent, all of a sudden sex shut off. And
mm,
that was kind of the way in that relationship that I was sort of made to feel as well. And I sort of allowed myself to fall into that pit of, well, damn, I guess life is over for me. And when I finally sort of opened up, and I got so sick and tired of that feeling of just hating myself and hating the fact that I had these needs and I had these wants, and I'm trying to do all these things and I feel helpless.
mm.
I was like, I'm done. I want to be happy with myself. I deserve the pleasure too, damn it. Just because I had kids does not mean that my pleasure sensors are shut off. And I took it back, and certain people in my life were not happy
Mm.
that I took it back, and I started being very vocal about the things that I missed and the things that I wanted to do again and experience, and sort of my personal bucket list of things I want to go and do. So, as my kids grew up, it was like, okay, I'm ready to experience something. And I had that conversation with my then partner, and we chose to separate and to go our separate ways. Thankfully, him and I are still really great friends, and now I'm sort of, in a weird way, helping him on his own journey to opening himself up in his own way. And my current partner and I, we are, loving our relationship because we were brought together. We found each other through a DS dynamic first. We were
Mm,
contracted dom and
mm.
sub.
Mm.
So that was, an amazing experience as well. And I don't know, it's been a very transformative journey. I will say that.
It sure sounds like it. I love all of this, and I'm so excited to get a few more details. I also love that share because A, how fucking wonderful is it to have a clear example of a human being, you, who's moving through the world, having different relationships. I think of relationships as growth partnerships. Like, I'm not a big till death do us part person. Like, I'm personally am not pursuing marriage, although I've been pursued in marriage by a handful of people. And I'm sort of like, well, okay, let's be practical about this first and foremost. And so I love that you have, it sounds like, had evolving connections and relationships. Go back to the formative experiences for me, and between the time where you started exploring yourself and those experiences with your girlfriend, was there anything like formative for you to explore? Was that kind of the next step for you? Like, what other early parts of your origin story turned you into the human that you are?
Oh my gosh. One real my if my mom's listening, mom, hey, you'll understand this. My mom had a subscription to Cosmopolitan magazine. And she would always have, it was a bathroom reading. So, you have your magazine rack and everything in the bathroom. So she loved Cosmo. Like Cosmo was her diehard, like guilty pleasure. And around that time, I had started reading about different, sex techniques and blowjobs and all these things. And I can remember being with, because I had my girlfriend, but on the public side, because of how much shit we were getting, we both had boyfriends. So
Mm.
we always had like ways to kind of hang out and do our thing, even though it was kind of a weird situation at the time. But I was like, oh my gosh, I read this thing. Like, could I try this? Like, is this something that you'd be down for? Of course, he was like, yes, let's do this. I learning techniques from Cosmo magazine, learning what I was on Real Sex, on Cinemax, and all the things, I think made me a very sexual being at
Mm.
a very young age. And probably around 15, 16, I was just exploring and I was having a good time with people. I wasn't trying to get into like a steadfast relationship. It was just I was exploring my different situations. And I was kind of pegged by a lot of people in the neighborhood as like this little slut. And it
Yeah.
was like, wow, y'all fucking suck. Like, how dare you? And as I grew up, that word actually kind of hit me hard. Like
Mm.
it was such a bad word, a bad thing to be called. As I've grown, now that's like the favorite thing in the world to be called. Like, I'm a slut. Yes, yes, I am.
Mm.
So silly little
Oh,
formative things. I think like that. It's funny how they come back around just all of a
dude.
sudden. You're like, I kind of like that.
I had my own version of that because literally when I was 15, the popular girl in my class called me a whore and I like had no experience. I was like, how could I? I haven't even what I could possibly, and now I'm like owning it in a whole new way. So it sounds like it did feel bad at the time. Yeah, and it sounds like you got shocked by a lot of social stigma and pressure. When did that sort of start to dissipate for you?
It really started to dissipate after I had left home and I was, oh my gosh, I think I was maybe 21 or so. This was right before I started having my kids and I was bartending. And so like I went through this whole sort of experience of I left home when I was 17. I graduated, was going to school in Arizona, and I was in another relationship at the time that turned into a really toxic one, unfortunately. But I was bartending and working my way through school. And I think things started to really sort of shift for me when I started to get to know other people and really have like more kind of relationships outside of just my partner at the time or a coworker, but actual friendships.
Mm.
And wow, just talking about things and how good it felt. And before you knew it, like it was therapeutic to talk about the experiences and to talk about wants and needs and weird things. And then you get in the down, you have a few drinks and you get in the down and dirty stuff. Like, so, I really like this one toy. Have you ever heard of it? And then that's how I found out about the magic wand. I had no idea about sex toys really up until that point. And I was
Okay.
like, oh my God, this toy is like incredible. How is this not like something that's gifted to you on your 18th birthday every year? This is just so cool. So yeah, it definitely around that time, just talking with people and realizing how important those conversations were was really what started to flip the switch for me. I had no idea that sex could be a career though. Like at that point,
Yeah.
I had no clue about that. I was going to school to become I wanted to be a writer. I ended up being an English professor and a professor of world literature for 10 years.
Mm.
And then I started to realize, like, wow, I'm writing sex stories, I'm publishing sex stories, erotica and things like that. I really have this sort of underground version of myself. Sex is so huge to me, and yet I've always been a teacher in some capacity or another. And then it started to dawn on me, like, I wonder if there's something else out there that I could bring these two things together with. And I started researching, and like sexologists and sex educators. Well, I do that for my friends already. Why not do it more? So that's sort of the path that I ended up going down. And then before I knew it, there was content creators, and the pandemic hits, and I'm like doing all this stuff online because I realize I'm an exhibitionist and I
Okay.
absolutely love it. And my partner is like, he loves it just as much, he's a lot like I am. And we really build on each other with that way. So I think having that new relationship of having your hype person be your best friend, your partner in crime and your partner in sex, and just loving the exploration part of it, it's yeah, that's where I am today.
Oh, I love that. Okay. I would love to hear details about what you are enjoying today. It sounds like a lot of things. You can fill in any like previous gaps from 20s, whatever feels formative, because I want more details about like especially also the balance of your work and pleasure life. I'm a person who my sex-related work continues to inform my personal life in all kinds of surprising ways. So where feels the best place to start for you here?
Oh my gosh. We can start, I guess, with the balance aspect, because
Okay.
I'm still like, balance for me is something I'm always aching for. Like, it's funny, I'm a Libra, but I'm
Mm,
right on the cusp between Libra and Scorpio. So I always tell people I aggressively seek balance in all things, and it's really hard to get. So
yeah.
way back in the day, I know I was working so much. I was working multiple jobs, teaching like crazy, especially when I had my kids, and even before I had them, I was working one or two jobs at a
Mm,
time. I was bartending during the evenings, I was going to school during the day, and then I would pick up part-time work whenever I could. And I realized pretty quickly that I was feeling really repressed, like a lot of my sexuality for being such a sexual being, and having to basically like focus on just masturbating when I had the opportunity to. And then
yeah.
everything else just sort of went into my stories and into my books, because God forbid I ever tell anybody that I have all these crazy kinks. It was like,
Oh.
how do I sort of make all of this balance? So I felt really like for a long time I was seeking that balance and didn't know how to get it. And once I made that call from, me and my then partner decided to separate our ways so that we could make space for each other to go find what we really needed.
Mhm.
And it was really like a supportive experience. Like, listen, I know this is what you're into, and I can't give this to you. I want you to go and find someone that can give this to you,
Yeah.
and vice versa. And so finding my now partner and having that balance, and now I get to live through pleasure. Like my entire existence is pleasurable. Making my wearable art is pleasure for
Yeah.
me. Having sex is super pleasurable. Knowing that having sex and or masturbating and somebody else is getting pleasure from that on the end of the screen.
Yeah.
Yo, that is like the best feeling in the world. And that's what drives me crazy when I hear people give OnlyFans girls or cam girls or sex workers in general such a bad rap. It's like, you know what? We're here because we fucking love it and we get to have orgasms for a living. Fuck you. Like,
Yeah.
it is the best thing in the world.
Yeah. It's so good. It's funny because usually when I try to get curious about what people have a problem with, they usually have not really actually interacted with anything but other people's ideas about those things. And anytime I come across a person who really will dive into the actual other human being on the end of that, they're like, oh wow, well what you do is fantastic. I there are a couple exceptions, and like you had your slut shaming experience. I've now encountered whorephobia coming from a background as an artist where that didn't exist as a thing for me, and now sometimes I stumble into situations and I'm like, that gentleman seems very rude, and I'm like realizing what he's actually reacting to, and it's like usually just ideas of things instead of the actual human being. Okay, so can you drop us into timelines on when that separation with your original partner happened and kind of like how long you've been in this new, sounds like a kinky connection? It's still kinky?
Oh, is very, very.
Okay.
That's our entire basis for our relationship, to
Oh,
be
the
honest.
best. Yes.
I love it. So my partner now and I have been together since 2018.
Okay.
And so at the very beginning of 2018 was when I came to my partner, and we'd already been like, it was sexless for a really long time. I was working constantly. He was working constantly. We were literally on completely separate ends of the spectrum when it came to our work schedules. And I was working from home. So I was taking care of the kids. I was running around. I was doing things. And it was like, we tried to sort of work it out and talk it out. And I knew for myself that I wanted more. I wanted to experience more. I had so many things I wanted to do with other people. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to be somebody that is going to be a cheater. I don't want to, like, at the time I was in a monogamous relationship.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know I'm not a person that is necessarily satisfied with just one individual. I know I need more than that. And there's just a plethora of things. Like, I need two dudes and a chick. Like, I need all of it all at once, you know?
I do.
But obviously I didn't say it quite in those words. I was trying
For
to be
sure.
really cool with my ex. Now we laugh about it. But so we were like, okay, let's separate, let's figure this out. And we couldn't really like leave in terms of separating from the house. So I ended up going and staying in the other end of the house. He stayed in his end of the house. And we were trying to figure everything out. And that was when I met online on FetLife. By the way, FetLife is a dangerous place, everybody. Don't
Yeah.
think that everybody that DMs you is going to be like this story. This is a very rare experience. That is my disclaimer.
Thank you for that.
And so my partner and I, we started talking, and I didn't want to be in a relationship, and we were very upfront and honest. Like, we're both about to go through some shitty divorces. I don't want to be in a relationship. I just know that I need a dom in my life. I've been a dom to every other human being. I have dommed myself. I have dommed every aspect of my existence. I want somebody to dom me. And so he was an experienced dom, and we had like a little contract, and it was not so much sexual at first. At first, it was very much almost like managerial, like, okay, I want you to text me when you've done this. I want you to text me when you've done this. So it's all these things that we agreed upon that I knew I needed help with, that I needed accountability for.
Oh, I love
And
that.
it was really helping. And all of a sudden we were like talking more and realizing we have the same interests. And he's an attorney, but his background was he got his degree in English literature. So we had like all of a sudden this additional thing of being super sapiosexual. And we knew that at that point, okay, this is something more than just a contract. This is feeling like it could be built on something. We decided to take it to the next level, and I left my job, all of my jobs up here, or up there in Northern California, and moved down here to LA, and brought my kids and everything with me, and we decided to make a life out of it. And right when we were in the middle of doing all of this stuff and starting to make this a full-time committed thing, the California campfire happened. So we ended up losing the house. We lost
Oh
absolutely
shit.
everything. And the kids, are down here, and all their stuff is now gone. And what are we going to do? And now, and me, my ex and I were sitting there like, you know what? This is a blessing. How much of a blessing is this, that we get both a clean slate, we get to restart everything on a good foot. You're in a great relationship. I'm getting into a great relationship. The kids get to have a brand new start to everything. How fucking much of a blessing is this? And it was the weirdest sort of like, wow, it's a terrible situation. It's a
Yeah.
complete tragedy for so many individuals. And yet we are walking out of this with something, literally feeling like the universe gifted us with fresh, clean slates. And it really helped us sort of build our friendship, and then it also helped my now partner and I begin to build our experiences, and we were able to do so much more than we ever could have if that hadn't happened. So like in terms of rebuilding like the relationship and stuff, like we started being able to just spend more time together because I wasn't in such a rush all the time to make a lot of money so that we could build up everything. It was buying furniture and being like a normal couple for a second.
Wow.
And then we ended up building like a bedroom dungeon. So
Oh,
that
that's
was
what
exciting.
I was wondering. Okay, okay, we're gonna need details about that. Before we go there, though, can you tell us where in your timeline your different jobs unfolded? So, English professor first, where did sexology, where did content creation, and then like your creative stuff? Like you were a fountain. And like it sounds like you were already writing, but like I love it. Because I love meeting other people that are like, I do a billion things too. I'm like, oh, thank God. Okay, because you're not gonna look at me weird.
Yeah, it's people do look at me very, very odd
I
sometimes.
know.
Like you do this and this and this and this. Like, yo, my brain doesn't stop. I
Yeah.
can't, it just doesn't shut off. So I was an English world literature creative writing professor for about 10 years. And there was a couple of points where 'cause I've always been super nerdy when it comes to like computer stuff, building websites, coding. I find it kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I reached out to a couple of people, and I was like, in the universities I was working for, and I said, hey, if you ever need any help like with curriculum development, learning management systems, like I'm pretty handy with this stuff, at least from the teacher side. Let me know if you need additional help. And they actually called me and said, hey, could you come on board, and we could use somebody that could build some of these classrooms and rewrite some of the English and essay writing curriculum. So I started doing that. So my repertoire started going from just a teacher, a professor, to now curriculum developer and learning management systems developer. And when I came down to Los Angeles, like, I'm sorry, but adjunct teaching online does not pay enough to live in Los Angeles.
No.
So I started looking around for a job, and I ended up becoming the director of the At Home program, which was a learning management system that Mathnasium, the global company, started to produce right before the pandemic hit. So I jumped on board with that, and I did that for about 2 years. And I had it was one of those weird things. Like I went from working from home to now the corporate world, really for the first time in my life.
Whoa.
And I had a gorgeous office overlooking, Santa Monica and the ocean. It was just beautiful. But I was working so much. I was literally working to put my kids in daycare. At home, I'm like trying my best just to be with my new partner. We're kind of building our situation up, going through the fire, still going through the divorces and finalizing everything. And then it just turned into sort of, man, this is really, really hard. Something is missing. What is missing here for me? And that was when I started looking into the sexology stuff and realizing like I need to start making sex a really big priority. It's so big for me already. It's big in my relationship. Why not see what else is out there? And so I started putting myself through the IC program, the Institute of Educational or Enlightenment, Sexuality, Education, and Enlightenment, and going through their program. And I was like, you know what? If I can make this work and I'm making at least as much money doing sex education as I am in the corporate world, I will drop my corporate job. And at first it was a little bit slow, and then the pandemic happens. And I'm now at home, and I'm trying to do all of, working from home and homeschooling my kids and doing all this stuff. Just finished up my IC program, trying to build that business up. And I was literally burnt the fuck out. Like I was
Yeah.
just no longer here, not present, don't even know where I am half the time. And my daughter comes over and she goes, Mom, you should check out TikTok. I'm like, oh, what is this? And I start flipping through, and there's all these people, and they're doing fun things. And I saw Sunny Megatron on there, and I start, seeing the other educators how they're doing their thing. But I didn't have enough confidence in myself to do that yet.
Mm.
And all these little girlies are doing, shuffle dances, and I'm like, that looks like good exercise. I don't have anything else that I'm doing at home, in the evening hours, so why not? And I started learning to dance and started posting some of it. At the same time, I had a full-time day collar that I would wear. And people wouldn't notice my dancing. They started asking about my collar.
Uh-huh.
And before I knew it, I was becoming an educator on TikTok without even meaning. So one person asks about the collar, I explain it very, you know, this is between me and my partner. It's a consenting relationship. This is who we are as people, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, I had no idea. Tell me more.
Mm.
So I was starting to answer the same questions over and over again. And at one point, I had a little over 70,000 followers just based on my education content by itself. Like, screw the dancing. No one gives a
Yeah.
crap that I, have two left
Uh-huh.
feet. But I start doing that. So I'm like, I need to do something with this. I'll turn it into a podcast because then I can just answer one question. It'll be one episode and I can just say, go here. So I did that for the Submissive Next Door podcast, and it
Mm.
turned into such a hit that I was like, wow, I think I finally can do this. Now, what else can I do? So my partner and I had already been kind of messing around a little bit on Reddit and posting some naughty pictures and, face, no face and all that kind of stuff because I'm still trying to be in the dark and, not out in the open yet. And that's where my stage name Tiffany came from. That was really profound, right? No one's ever going to know Tiffany and Tiffany. So
I
I
did
started.
not make the connection. I was like, Kapani, what a cool name. I wonder what it means. Like, I mean,
It's the Hawaiian name of of Tiffany. So
Tiffany,
it's
that's
like
beautiful.
literally the same name.
Yeah.
But so I start doing that stuff with my partner, and people on Reddit really liked it. And then people on TikTok, everything's starting to grow. And then I see all these creators out there doing fun cosplays and art. And then finding out that they also were OnlyFans girls. And I was like, well, maybe I'll just see what happens. I'm just gonna make an OnlyFans just for shits and giggles. Had no plans whatsoever that this was going to become a huge part of my career. And in the first 2 months, I ended up making over 30 grand
Woo!
of people.
Good job.
The first 2 months, and this was, pandemic hit. So I think a
Mm.
lot of it was
Hmm.
I hit the wagon at the right time when the pandemic hits, and everybody else is doing the same thing, and everybody's at home, jerking off. Like, what else are you
Yeah.
going to do during
Yeah.
the pandemic? I spent most of the pandemic, once I left my job, doing the same thing. So it that was like, okay, this is it. This is now a job. I have to treat this as a job. And that was really what started off this entire thing. So I have my business, which is the intimacy consultant, where I help people talk about what they want.
Mm.
And then I have my OnlyFans, where I get to actually create beautiful, gowns and dresses. And that's becoming like its own version of something right now, where people are now commissioning me to make gowns for them. But
Whoa.
it's the very cool thing to have the ability to, okay, today I think I'm feeling kind of horny. I think I'm just gonna, throw out some videos and, do that. And then tomorrow I'll work on a dress. And then the next day I'll sit and write a sex ed article. It's I cannot imagine a better existence. And I feel very grateful that it's all happening.
Woo! I am celebrating that so hard. And I could ask you a million follow-up questions about work, but let's save that in case we reconvene because I really want to know what brings you great joy and sexual pleasure. I am very kinky. It's been a minute since I've been in a power relationship dynamic as a submissive. I have a lot of like shorter form contracts where I am the dominant person, but I would love to hear everything you feel like sharing about what you love with or without a power dynamic.
Oh my gosh. Spanking is a really big one. I
Mm.
absolutely love to be spanked. Definitely exhibitionism, and obviously consensual exhibitionism. And which we get, like my partner and I, we used to go to a dungeon here in LA. It was pre-pandemic, so unfortunately they're no longer around. But it was like a very upscale mansion that was in the Hollywood Hills. And it was so incredible. And we would go, like, we got to know these people on a first name basis. Like, it was they knew when we were showing up. And in fact, I'll tell you a quick, I'll make it as quick as possible, but like our wedding night. So we get married, do the ceremony, it's really small, a handful of people, close friends and family kind of thing. And I purposely said, there's an 8 p.m. cutoff for the reception. We're done. Kids go off with parents, it's our wedding night and everything. Everyone figures that we're going to go to a nice hotel and have this, very special cutesy experience. No, I had messaged the owner of the dungeon, and I said, "Hey, my partner and I just got married. We want to go and celebrate with you guys, with our other family." So he puts out a blast message to everybody on the mailing list that we have newlyweds. We're going to help them welcome, their new relationship. So we show up, and I had put on this cute little white outfit. So it wasn't like my wedding dress, but it was like very wedding-esque. And he brings me in like with a collar and a leash and the whole bit, and proceeds to have a public flogging for our wedding night. So I got publicly flogged, I got publicly fucked, and everybody was cheering us on. It was the most magical experience. And it was like, I can't even describe how cool it was to have that sort of experience. But yeah, so that's definitely being publicly
Oof.
celebrated is
That's
a
like a
big deal for
that's
me.
a next level consummation of a marriage. So, okay, so you knew at that point that you were into exhibitionism, or when did you figure it out?
Oh, when we first got together, we went
Okay.
through like the whole yes, no, maybe checklists and all of that, and realized that there was a lot that we really loved and that we wanted to experience together. So we've kind of been making our way down the list over the years. It's quite enjoyable. We've had our three ways, we've had group situations, we do the exhibitionist thing. We love a lot of squirting action. That's definitely a fun one. Anything that has to do with just being outside, especially under the sun. Like for us, when we went to Hawaii for our honeymoon, we spent a week there. We stayed at the Alani. It was beautiful, all the things, this big fancy place. Barely saw the hotel because we found out through friends that there was a nude beach just tucked away. So it's like, why did we bring clothes? We had no reason to bring clothes. We
Yes.
never did anything but kayak and lay on a beach
Mm.
butt naked with just amazing humans
Mm.
for our entire honeymoon.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So, did you already know about kink going into that relationship, or how much of your kind of like new, it sounds like there was like a second era of like, what do we call it? Satisfying partnered exploration. Was that happening in concert with your sexology training? Like how did the learnings inform each other?
So here's my dirty little secret. So most from the time I turned about 18, which gosh, I'm not even gonna try to count that back anymore because it sounds like a horrible number. But when I was about 18, 19 years old, that was when FetLife first started. Like when it was just I mean, it's still just a shitty forum, but it's the early days of like early forums. And I my one of my very good friends, I had kind of confided a little bit in him and said, "Hey, God, I've been reading Anne Rice, and I've been reading the Beauty trilogy, and I really does this exist?" And sure enough, you can find places if you look hard enough, you could find stuff like that. So I started exploring FetLife and learning more about, why does it turn me on to have the idea of this princess being paraded around naked and in free use and, being flogged on stage. Like it was very much like a fantasy. Why? Clearly, I'm not the only one that likes that sort of thing because there's an entire book series about it.
Yeah.
And that was when I started really diving into what does it mean to be a submissive? What does it mean to surrender? What does it mean to be a dominant? And I started talking with people. So I had like sort of the not so consensual conversations with people.
Mm.
Never went anywhere, never did anything. It was never like meetups or anything like that, but it was very much just talking with people and talking to other doms and talking to male submissives specifically, who for whatever reason I give off a dom vibe. And it was that experience of like, okay, I know I have these needs and these wants, and I'm keeping it under wraps because I know a lot of people just think I'm completely insane for this.
Mm.
And especially my partner at the time, he really wanted nothing to do with it. He didn't understand spanking. He didn't understand any of that stuff. It was just, you want me to hit me, and he'd been brought up to never do that to a female.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
how dare I even think about such a thing? Like, well, shit. All right, I'll figure it out on my own then. So that's really kind of how it started, and I kept it very private. And I would get really like feeling ashamed of myself that I was doing this sort of thing. So I would walk away from FetLife for a year or two at a time, and I would
Mm.
just write. and I would read and I would write and read as much as I could. And then I'd get that inkling back of like, God, something's missing, something's missing. Maybe I'll just go and see what's up on the forums. And that was kind of how it was, that back and forth forever. And now, now I have my own forum.
I was gonna say, wow, okay, so that's almost like a lot of theoretical buildup. That's like long-term edging with a lot of education underneath. Is the partner that you're with now the first person that you like deeply explored kinkily with?
Deeply, yeah, I would say in terms of in-person stuff, absolutely.
Right,
It's the
right.
first person I've really been like in person. I still have male submissives who I was in kind of short-term relationships on, through FetLife of all
Yeah.
things, that are they're still friends today.
Okay.
And it's like they know that I'm in a relationship where I don't have the mental capacity to dom somebody else on a full-term basis.
Yeah.
I definitely still have plenty of guys that come to me, and that's one of my specialties is femdom.
Mhm.
But it's very yeah, this relationship is my first real like this is a 24/7, this is an everyday, this is a like this is it for us.
Okay, yeah, tell
Um,
us the details of like what is the 24/7 agreement that you have in place? Like what is it like? What do you love about it? How does it support you?
it supports me so much because it I have a lot of with my ADHD, I have a lot of trouble with keeping myself accountable.
Mm.
Getting things done during the day, I have as you can probably see, I have a million and two projects going on all at
Yeah.
once, all the things all at once. And being able to have somebody that helps keep me accountable, it's almost like a management system, but with a lot of extra perks.
Yeah.
And instead of, getting, told that, oh, you're being a bad girl or whatever, it's like, no, 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 I'm doing this because I want to be told I'm a bad girl. Like
Yes.
it's the fun stuff. Punishment is a really big thing. So I very much enjoy my spankings when I've gotten everything done. For every project I get done, I get an extra spank. So it's very yeah, it makes it like something that I want to do every day. And for our dynamic specifically, we when we got together, it was, he is daddy dom. He is very like giving. He's a pleasure dom first and foremost. And he very much enjoys giving pleasure as much as possible, like pushing me over my edge with pleasure as much as he humanly can. And I'm the same way. I am a service submissive. So
Mhm.
my joy comes from servicing. I enjoy doing things and keeping the house clean and getting my projects done and organization so that when he comes home, he feels like, oh, I can rest and I can give my full attention to her. So it's very much, we have a very reciprocal energy system between the
Yes.
two of us.
Yes.
And it's a flow of energy that's a constant. And the second that something starts feeling like, okay, there's not the flow, so there's some sort of a kink in the flow here, not in the good way.
Yeah.
How do we address this? And we have our check-ins. We talk about, hey, I noticed that you're struggling a little bit today. What can I do? How can I help support this? And it's that constant idea that our relationship, our dynamic, if you look at it like it's like a garden, you have to keep on de-weeding, you have to keep giving it water, you have to take care of that garden or it will die. And we always remind each other like, hey, how's the garden today?
Yeah.
How are we feeling? How's the garden today? And that's a really powerful thing that I'd never had before in any other
Mm.
relationship.
That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing and inspiring me personally because I have been open to connection with a partner who wants to have those regular check-ins, and I have not yet found someone who like says yes and has the follow through like at that kind of like level of intensity. Like I'm a lot. I have a bucket list that is literal hundreds of items long, and so sometimes just sharing that with someone is the end of our initial personal connection because they're like, "Wah!" I would love to hear if you have those check-ins. Are they scheduled? Like, and how often does that include like, "Hey babe, here's some new seeds I want to plant," and or actually what do you call each other? Because I said babe, but like what do you actually call each other if you share that publicly?
Oh, no, of course. He's daddy. He's
Okay.
definitely daddy for me. I it's kind of funny. He calls me pretty much everything. He calls me
Okay.
babe, hun,
Mm.
all the things. But the number one thing that really is something special to me is he calls me by my middle name, which is Jasmine.
Mm.
And Jasmine is one of those like no one else really knows, to call me anything like that. No one has ever really called me that. And I feel a really big connection with that name just because of the flower. It's something really special to me for 100 different reasons.
Yeah.
But that's his personal name. Like the honorific for me is calling me by my middle name. And it's sounds really corny and weird, but it's definitely it's like it makes me perk up. You know, he'll come up and he'll whisper in my ear like, "Hey, Jasmine." Like,
Mm.
"Uh-huh, yes, daddy. Yes, what do you need?" It's that
Mm-hmm.
milty feeling. But yeah, so for our check-ins, we used to schedule them when we first got together. We had a check-in usually each evening. And it was
Mm.
especially when I was working at the corporate job and everything. And it was more of a decompression for me because that corporate job, fucking man, it killed me. It pushed me into the ground,
Yeah.
trying to run that many departments and that many people. And, you know, I had over 1,500 different franchisees that I had to deal with on a regular basis just to get them up and going on their new platform that
Wow.
I had built, and it's, like, all on me if it falls apart. Dealing with AWS on a regular basis was enough to make me wanna kill myself. Like,
Yeah,
it was
for
just
sure.
so
For
much.
sure.
So, having those check-ins each night of, you know, "What do you need? How can I help?" And all of that stuff was really, really good. And then vice versa, because he's an attorney, so it's, how was your day? How, you know, tell me everything that's going on with you." And we would try to do, like, some body massage, and I'm a big believer in really massage using, like, energy, so Reiki type stuff, and, a lot of balancing the chakras and things. I grew up with a hippie mom, so there you go.
Love it.
But we would try to use as much of our energy that we had left during the day to sort of give to one another because that sort of helped to fuel it back up.
Yeah.
And as we things just kind of shifted, now we've been together for, you know, 7 years almost. It's very sporadic. Like we know each other well enough that, hey, I can see that you're having a rough day. Let's, you know, go take 5 and let's go talk about it.
Mm.
And it gives it, we just had a check-in yesterday morning, and it was so good for us because we belted out. Like, we will sometimes scream at each other, like, you know, this is how I feel right now. And sometimes it isn't even about the job. It's just like, man, I feel like we don't have enough time together, and I want to do this with you, and I want to do this, and it fucking sucks that we have to do all these other things. Just getting that out with somebody,
Yeah.
God, it's like it's scream therapy.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so cathartic. I'm so happy that you have that. I mean, also, okay, talking about cathartic things, will you tell us details about spanking and what you love and your spanking style? And is it hands only? Is it implements? Is it over the knee? Like, tell us everything you love about spanking.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny. One of the things I just recently did was just for shits and giggles and for myself, because I thought it would be really funny to do this, I grabbed all of my toys and all the BDSM gear, and I laid everything out. It covered the entire living or entire bedroom floor. And, you know, between all of the spanking racks and the St. Andrew's cross and like all these things that we have. And I posted it on X, and I was like, so I'm gonna give y'all one shot here. If you had one thing that you would want to see me use, which would it be? And that became like
Ooh,
a whole
so
like
good. That's
series that I
so
did on
good.
OF. It was a
Okay.
lot of fun.
Mm.
But for spanking, I love a waterfall flogger, like a leather flogger with the soft like suede leather on it. It hits just right. It's not too much of a bite. It's not thuddy. And following it up with just a nice cool hand. Like if
Yeah.
his hand is nice and chilled, oh, it feels so good.
Oh,
It's
wait. I've never been spanked with a chilled hand. Now I have to add that to my bucket list.
it's definitely it's an experience because you get that wonderful sting, but you also get, like, the coolness, and it's just, oh,
Does he
it's just good.
make it cold in cold water, ice water, or metal, or is it just like starting out fresh?
A lot of times it's starting out fresh, but he'll have, like, ice cubes and stuff, and he'll, like, cool his hand real fast, and it's just the best. It's like the skin on skin, so you get, like,
Yeah.
that energy from that, but it's a beautiful, like, dynamic between the heat and the cold. I
Yeah.
cannot get enough
Yeah.
of his hands. I'm a big hand person.
Me
Hands are my
too.
kink
Me
hard.
too. Me too. Wait, tell us
I just
more.
found out on Reddit. Reddit has a man hands
Mm.
subreddit,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I've been on it for days. I'm just like, babe, babe, there's all these hands, and it looks so good.
Wait, so is
It's
anyone's
terrible.
hands? Because I am like, if I
It's
know that
just
this
man.
hand, just man hands. Because for me, I'm am I hand pansexual? I'm like, if this hand is about maybe I'm hand demisexual. Like if it's about to imminently touch me, especially if I've expected it for cuts depending on where it's going. I'm like, I'm into this hand. Okay, so you like looking, so it's man hands. What is it that
I
you
guess
like
I
about
guess
them?
the term would be masculine hands. It doesn't
Okay,
necessarily have to be on a man, but I
okay,
really love like masculine, strong hands. I don't know why, it's
okay.
a
Like, do you mean like
thing.
big knuckles and thick fingers, or like what do you
It's
get
almost like
attracted
I
to?
love the hands that are like number 1, definitely like clean for sure, but
Mm-hmm,
I like
mm-hmm.
the look of like rough hands that are they just look powerful, they look strong, they have I like the veins, of course, like who
Mm.
doesn't love a little bit of vein action on the hands and the arms, forearms? It's like I think it touches that part of my brain where I'm like, "Hmm, that's like a cock. That's like a really good cock."
Yes,
Like,
yes. Oh
so,
my
I don't
gosh,
it's
yes.
weird, but I'm a weird human, I know.
I love that. I'm also like now very thoughtfully thinking like, I've been attracted to feminine hands because I'm like, I think that could fist me now. Whereas with like man hands, I'm like, I'm fisting curious. I have only received a fist once. It was a smaller hand. But yeah, it was so I like them all. Um, are there any other does the hand turn you on wherever it goes, or is it like genital focus, like massage focus? Like, is it
I do
anything?
love me a hand necklace.
Yeah.
It's definitely I love a hand necklace. Those are fabulous, and I think a lot of it is just having the hands on me, and
Okay.
I never really was the type of person, especially growing up, where there was a lot of touching, a lot of feely. It was always just like in the same room with somebody that you cared about. And I think the hands for me really I enjoy the idea of just having
Yeah.
them on me and having them whether it's just a gentle touch or something, but skin on skin
Mhm.
is very huge and the hands are always exposed. So it's something it's a small part of the skin that you always have like in contact and it's like perfectly publicly acceptable.
Ugh, I love that so much. So I would imagine a situation in which you could have double sets of masculine hands. For example, an MMF three-way would be extra exciting to you, or is it like is that the point where you get more turned on by cocks? Like, tell us. I've never had an MMF, and I want to, and tell me everything.
Oh man, we've had a few. It's my favorite. We've had like a three-way with a friend of ours, another female, and I loved her in all the things, but she was definitely very dominant. And when you have like two doms at the same time that are very much like in competition with each other, it didn't quite go as well as we had
For sure.
hoped it would have. But some of the other like the guys, it's almost like I'm gonna say this, and I mean this in the best possible way. It's very bromantic because it's like these 2 guys that are, like, just bros, and they're friends, and they're having a great time, and they're figuring out different ways to play with me and to make
Mm.
me scream, and it becomes like a competition between them to see how hard that they can get me to come. And that is, like it's a lot of fun. Like, we just have really great friends.
Oh, that is amazing. Do you have favorite configurations or have you gotten to kind of enjoy everything? Like what are some and does this happen on camera or is all your on-camera stuff like solo more? Like
All
what
the
a
on-camera stuff for us is just, like, me and my partner.
okay,
So
okay.
when we have, like, an MMF or an you know, any type of a three-way or group action situation, that's very much like, no cameras, this is just us. This is us having a great time, us having friend time, and, you know, having friends with benefits is great. And, yeah, so my personal favorite configuration is giving a blowjob while I'm getting fucked from behind,
Oh, I want that so
and
bad. Congratulations.
it is the epitome, and it's like, especially if I work really, really hard, I can get them to both come in unison, and it's just even if I personally don't come, that is like the most like, okay, I'm drinking, I can feel it. It's like all
That's
the
so
fluid
cool.
everywhere. It's just, it's delicious. It's delicious.
That is so delicious. I have dreams of that, and now I know that they're possible, and it's just a matter of allowing it to fall into place. Wow, okay. That's so cute. Are you an anal person? Do you like double penetration or anything like that? Or I guess it could be double
I'm
vaginal.
trying so hard. It's one of those things, it's only happened a few times in my life, and I get gifted, from different, like, s sex toy companies all the
Yeah.
time, anal plugs, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I really wanna do this so bad,"
Okay.
and I have such a it's very much it's a mental thing. It's entirely, like, a mental thing
Yeah.
about being so full,
Mm.
And it's like I almost feel too full when I
Mm.
have the double penetration. Like it's almost like too my brain can't shut off long enough to truly enjoy it.
Okay.
But we are trying, and it's been the most highly requested thing on my OnlyFans is for anal play.
Really?
And
Okay.
I haven't done it yet. It's coming, literally, guys. I promise. I
Oh.
swear it's coming.
I'm like, in
I'm
that
just
case, I should advertise myself as a butt slut more. Most of my masturbation, meditation, sensation explorations eventually include my butt. I'm a bit of a butt slut, and it took me 9 months of like trying and being uncomfortable with a former dominant partner who, like, that was one thing. Like, I loved giving him all of my holes every session, or like he would take them. Um, and so even though there were days where I was like, ah, and I would have to bop out a little bit earlier than I felt really proud of, he would still like reassure me and tell me I did such a good job. And we would just find my edge, every so often until I got really comfy, and then I had askasms, and now I'm a butt
I
slut.
love that. I'm working towards it. I want that
Yes,
experience
one step
so
at a
bad.
time. Yeah, yeah, it was definitely mental for me a lot, and even now, I haven't had anal in a couple of years because I am very picky about who I will engage with. Like, they really have to be into it, educated, you know. I don't really like to teach if I have to teach them how to do my butt. Yeah, there have been exceptions, but like in general.
And I'm still working at like my partner's the same way. My partner enjoys anal as well. So it's definitely like we're exploring it so much together, and it's actually a really really fun thing. Like you have to laugh, you have
Yeah.
to play, right? Like that's the
Yeah.
that's the fun of it.
That's so sweet. Okay, so are threesomes the monogamish part of your relationship, or are there other ish parts?
Yeah, that's the monogamous part. Like where his I'm sure if I went to him, I was like, "Hey, babe, like I want to be, totally open, or I want to, have like a totally separate like relationship or something like that." We've talked about the idea of like, how would you feel about that sort of thing? And he's like, as long as I know you're coming home to me, I really don't care.
Okay.
But at the same time, I'm like, my brain can't fathom having another full-time relationship to deal with.
Right.
So we're just like, no, we go and we have fun and we have our friends with benefits. And it's like a very specific group of people that we can call upon should the mood strikes. And I like that aspect of it, of just if we're hanging out and something just happens to happen, that's so much fun. Like it's just
Yes.
spontaneous.
I love that. I always prefer openness because I want to leave room for spontaneity, whether I'm on set with someone or in just a circumstance that I get so curious, I want to follow the thread. I love leaving room for exciting, wildly, delightfully surprising, satisfying experiences. I would love to hear a little bit about what you enjoy about play parties and or dungeons. You mentioned that you've had dungeon play, you mentioned being an exhibitionist. Like, what are some things that you've experienced and loved?
Oh man. So there's one specific experience that I will remember for the rest of my life, and I hope she does too. We had gone to a play party, and it was there at this particular play party. They had like a dungeon in the back room. So if there's a dungeon, that is 100% where I am. I am completely out of the action. I am in that dungeon. I am bent over something, and I'm either getting fucked or flogged, one or the other. And this couple had come into the room, and she was getting tied up to a rack, and he had brought his like bag of toys and everything, and there was never a single word uttered between the four of us in this room. It was entirely like eye contact and just knowing that we were watching each other, and that we were having this very intimate like experience together as one but separately. It was very magical. So
Wow.
she's getting tied up, and he's got his toys, and he pulls out a magic wand, and he proceeds to edge her. And he's edging her for a good while, and he's shirtless and just in a pair of jeans and like doing the whole thing with her. And my partner, we had just gotten done with a flogging session, so I was laying over his lap, and on this couch, and he was fingering me, and he was like getting me, really hot and bothered and everything. And the woman and I locked eyes, and she is just in this. You can see the climb, like you see it. She's building up. She's so close. She's right there, and she ends up like just starting to squirt everywhere. And as she's squirting, I'm coming. And so we just had like this between, it was mainly between her and I, but our partners were like working on us. So having that experience, so we're get off, and then we're getting up and we're getting cleaned up and everything, and the other dominant looks at my husband and just kind of nods, like in that very like I see you kind of way. And then her and I look at each other and we just kind of do our nod, and that was it. That was the whole experience, and it was just really intimate in the best way.
That is so beautiful, and, like, what a next level experience of parallel play. Like, oh,
Those are
okay.
the ones that I enjoy the most, is being there, being witness and
Mhm.
being witnessed at the same time.
Yeah,
It's very reciprocal, and just that energy system that fills that room is incredible. And I
yeah.
mean, no one else was in there. It was just the 4 of us, and it just felt like it was meant to be.
I love that so much. And I would love to take this moment, since we're talking about group play and play parties, to discuss health and safety boundaries. So it sounds like you and your partner are fluid bonded, but you can kind of fill in what do you need with your partner to stay safe, and then when you play with other people and or especially do play at play parties, like tell us kind of like practices for comfort.
Oh, definitely. So for us, we are definitely fluid bound or fluid connected. Like that is a huge thing for us. And like on a totally separate sort of like, I know this is like the non-sexy
Mhm.
version of all
Mhm.
of this. My brother actually passed away a few years ago from HIV,
Mm.
and he was like late stage, and it just one day he was seemed fine, and the next day he was pretty much gone,
Wow.
and it turned out that he had late stage HIV. So for me, like learning about that, and I was like, "Oh, we need I don't ever want a situation like that." So, health and safety for me is huge. Condoms are always used if we are gonna go and play with another like, with our friends or something like that. Even though we fully trust our friends, you never trust them too much,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, not gonna go and step over that bound. So, we always talk about, like, "Hey, when's the last time that you got tested? When's the last time that, if you had any situations, what was it like?" And all that kinda stuff. So, we've gone so far as to ask for, like, recent records of, like, "Hey, if you got tested recently, do you mind if I just kinda, I don't need to see all the details and everything like that. I just want to know that it actually happened." And it's an interesting thing, especially when I was talking with another couple friends of ours who are swingers in the community, and they go to a lot more swinger parties, especially on the East Coast. And they were like, "You actually like talk about this kind of stuff? Like a lot of swinger parties don't."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "But it feels like that's like the number one place you should. Like,
Yes.
is
Yes.
at a swinger party. Like, are
Yes.
you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, and with DS and stuff, it's very much like one of the very first things that you bring up is consent, safety, safe, sane, consensual. That's a
Yeah.
huge, huge thing. Knowing that so many people don't talk about that. And if I feel like the person thinks I'm weird for bringing it up, that's usually my red flag that, oh, hey, I'll be friends with you. I will play
Right.
next to you. I will be your cheerleader. There is not going to be anything else going on. So
Yeah.
it's definitely, I wish more people would talk about it, and it sucks that it's almost more taboo than group sex. Like, just
Certainly,
talk about
I definitely do find that in non-kinky spaces. I feel incredibly spoiled because my pattern went kink to kind of like more professional settings. And I just feel like do ask, do tell is the new norm that I wish that we all did, and what I love about places where sex is part of the job, for example, at brothels, we do like an actual like gloved genital inspection with alcohol wipes to just look for openings. And I'm like, could we bring that to play parties? Because, the number one reason that I have been to play parties and barely played there is because I was not able to get my needs for safety met with the available people, and then also my system is overstimulated by noise, especially the more turned on I get, and I need a lot of communication. And when it's loud, I can't really do that. So, could you give us, it sounds like you're pretty experienced. Could you give us a little bit of your kind of personal guide or overview short form of how you kind of operate at play parties and or in group sex environments?
Definitely. So in terms of like the group sex environments that we've been a part of, we have always gone and just witnessed. We have never actually like jumped into the middle of it or anything like that. There's a club in LA that is pretty well known for the most part, but they do have a like a group orgy room. And my partner and I have, when we frequented, we'd go and we'd watch, and it'd be like other little rooms like with windows and things like that in it, which was really fun. So we would go in there and do our thing while watching all the other action and whatnot. And one thing I will say is that a lot of these places that we've frequented, we've never had an incident where somebody like overstepped a bound, or
Mhm.
it's always been like you ask before you touch kind of thing. Like, may I touch? And if you get a no, then you just continue on your way. Hey, thanks, have a good time and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So for us, it's always anybody who even wants to think about playing with us, you ask my dom first. And if he gives you the no, then it's a hard no. And I always communicate with him that, hey, this is what I'm feeling tonight. This is what I'm not feeling. Like, I really just want to come and just watch and see what's going on. And for the most part, if we go to a play party, I'm looking more for females to play with because I really feel just more comfortable with another female.
Mhm.
But we don't usually play with men at play parties. It's always been like our guy friends that we're close with. Just, I think it's a safety thing and just a comfort thing, especially. But yeah, so that's usually how we operate. We discuss before we walk in, what are we cool with? What are we not? What are we looking for tonight? And keep in constant communication. We know that condoms are always, 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 always used. And if they aren't, then bye.
Yeah.
Not happening, not even thinking about it. There is definitely no, like, if I'm gonna go down on somebody, I don't drink anybody else's cum. I just drink my partner's cum unless we're with our friends.
Mhm.
So it's, yeah, I think we do a pretty good job in terms of keeping that communication level there, but I cannot stress enough to people that everything from bacterial vaginosis happens, herpes are for life, all of the things, get checked, get tested, know what you are comfortable with the risk value of. Some things are fixable and treatable with a medication, a lot of them aren't. Are you willing to risk that? So just be careful and be upfront and honest about what you're okay with, and don't feel ashamed for saying no.
Yes, absolutely. And I too, I'll just say it, I'm a big fan of condoms on blowjobs for anyone that I'm not fluid bonded with because, things can happen in throats. So,
Exactly.
could you also walk us through what those conversations with your guy friends have been like? Because I have just this week gotten a couple questions from different people who like want to approach friends, not people they've met on dating apps about that. And they were like, how do I do it? And I was like, well, here's some ideas. But what has worked well for you guys since it sounds like you've walked that exact path?
It's so funny. It happens so spontaneously, like with the couple that we've been with. It's We had gotten to know them. They were friends that we had like initially had just met at a local like frequented bar that we go to, and they were friends of like other friends of ours. So we all just happened to be kicking around talking, and I started discussing, because it's the usual questions like, what do you do for a living, all that kind of stuff. And I never quite know what to say to a person when they first meet me. Usually I say, well, I work as a sexologist,
Mm.
and based on that alone, I will know instantly whether or not we're gonna have a friendship. And they had perked up and they were like, wait, what? Tell me more. So I started explaining it. And after, a few more times of hanging out with them at the bar and stuff, because they were very interested in, what does this mean? Do you teach people how to have sex? And I'm like, no, I teach people how to fucking talk to each other. That's
Mm.
exactly what my job is how to talk
Mhm.
to one another. And they started going, hey, so what else do you do? Like, you have sort of a look to you. And it's not the first time I've been told that I have a
Oh,
look. And I'm
look.
like, what are you talking about? What fucking look are you talking about? Like, well, you just sort of have a look. Like, do you do anything online? I'm like, well, as a matter of fact, I do. And they're like, wow, so you're into like all these things. And then the full conversation opens up about who I
Mm.
am, what I do, and all that sort of thing. And then they, of course, then the next question is, well, are you open? Do you play? Are you swinger? Like, what is it all about? And that's when I usually look at my dom and I'm like, okay, babe, you're on deck.
Your turn.
You get to talk about this one. And he'll be like, and we have like a look at, that we do with each other, and it'll be just mentally we're thinking, are we going here or are we not going here?
Yeah.
Like, is this
Yeah.
someone you're interested in, or is this going to be one I need to like shoo away? And I was like,
Okay.
hey, I'm open. Like, okay. So he starts talking, and before I knew it, we ended up going back to his place, and we had a great time. I got railed, had some aftercare, all the fun things for a couple of hours, and then got dressed, and that was it for that evening. And every so often, we get a phone call when they're back in town of like, "Hey, okay, we're hanging. Let's see where
Love
this goes."
that. Oh, I love that so much and totally relatable. Like when people ask me for advice, I'm like, well, my recipe is be very, very open about sex in almost any context where it's appropriate. You know, and I have had a lot of listeners say that listening to the podcast and telling other people what they heard on this podcast is a good, you know, what I had a dream about. It's a good way to share kind of like fantasies or test openness. What kind of reactions have you gotten that were negative when you share that you're a sexologist?
Oh man, it not so much that they're negative,
Just like
but just
discomfortable?
the, like, asinine comments that I've had. Like, I'd taken my dog to the vet, for fuck's sake,
Hmm.
and some dude is sitting next to me, and, he's clearly trying to flirt and just has no game whatsoever, and he goes, "So what are you doing?" And I'm just like, "I'm a sexologist." And he goes, "Really? Oh my god. There's this chick, I've been wanting her to go down on me," and he
Oh
starts
no.
unloading his
Okay.
problems,
Oh,
and I was like, "You know what? That sounds like something that you ought to talk with her about,
yeah.
and I am not free. So if you
Yeah.
want to have me give you some, like, actual advice and be like a therapist for you sort of thing, feel free to let me know, but if
Yeah.
you are not looking for that, I am not here to give away my time for free."
Yeah.
And he, like, instantly finally left me alone. But it's stuff like that where people just hear what I am, and they either have some stupid comment about, "Oh, so you teach people to have sex," or,
Mm.
"Why is that something that you need to teach anybody? Isn't sex just like a natural thing?" No, dude,
Do you
as a
do you
matter of
ask
fact,
those
it
people,
really isn't.
"Oh yeah, how is your sex life?" Because those people
Exactly.
are usually struggling.
But the ones that just open up about all their problems and
Yeah.
all the things and how do I get her, it's always the dude saying, "How do I make her do something?"
Yeah. I know.
You don't.
I know.
You
I've
you
heard so
don't
much of
make her
that.
do a goddamn thing.
Yeah. Dude, that happens to me too. And lately, when I'm out in public and someone's like trying to pull one of those, I get my phone out and I say, "You don't mind if I record, right? I do this on pod, like, so we can share this." And when they're like, then I'm like, "Oh, you can also like hire me for a private session." But oh, I thought we were doing the public free version. Oh, my bad.
I love that, I love that, I gotta remember that, just grab the phone, "You mind
Just
if I
be like, "You don't
record
mind if I
this?"
record?" Because I just want to share. I'm totally happy to do like volunteer work if it's for the greater good and other people can learn from our exchange. Otherwise, that's my time is valuable. So I'm so glad that you're able to share that. What else do you enjoy as a submissive? Like we talked about spanking, we've talked about sounds like a little bit of bondage. I heard St. Andrew's Cross. Like what else in your submission is supportive of your creative being?
Definitely rope play. My partner is a very gifted shibari rigger, and he is, yeah, I absolutely enjoy the mental break that rope play specifically gives me, because it's that I have to get into my own self. I have to, get into full embodiment. I get to shut my brain down. And I know, especially at the very beginning of those types of scenes, my brain tends to just wander and it goes in 500 other directions. And he knows the second that I'm starting to sort of get out of it. And I love having him there to, "Hey, you're here, you're here." And that's like the constant, "You're here, you're here."
Mm,
So it reminds me to be present in the moment, and it does make me feel like when we come out of a scene, it's the most incredible, like, lifted, light feeling, because everything else is like, "Oh, it's all still here. I didn't have to sit there for an hour and worry about this. Like, it's all still there. Why was I so obsessed about thinking about 500 other things? It's totally fine." So, the rope play especially, I love the feeling of being bound. It's one of the reasons why I don't know if you've seen any of the outfits and stuff that I make, but they all
yeah.
include corsets.
Yeah.
I know I've gotten some serious shit about corsets are so, demeaning to women and blah, 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 blah.
Mm,
No, I make them because I love
yeah.
constriction. I love
Yeah.
the feeling of being bound. It's like a
Me too.
hug. It's
Me
just
too.
it feels so good. So, the rope play and everything like that is very much a part of that for me is the bound feeling and just
Mm.
feeling tight and close. And it's also beautiful. Like we did an entire photo shoot when it was actually for our personal engagement pictures. And it was we had a professional come out and she did a shibari shoot with the two of us of him going through every one of the ropes and ties and knots and things like that on me. And it came out looking absolutely incredible. And you see, there's one picture in particular where he's wrapping me and you see the intensity on his face and you see the serenity on mine, and
Mm.
it's such a delicious, like, yummy picture. So that's definitely one for me is in terms of, all the fun kinky stuff. And then the other ones, I think, gosh, what else? Being submissive for me a lot of the times is just the feeling of surrendering, of
Mhm.
giving up my shit for a minute,
Yeah.
and knowing that I'm giving it to somebody that is openly wanting it and capable of handling it. That's why he has been the very first person I have ever submitted to in my existence.
Wow.
I never thought I would find somebody that was worthy of my submission, and he showed up. He is honest, he communicates. He made me want to give that submission, and I never thought I would ever want that. So that's yeah, I don't know if that answers the question necessarily, but I gush a lot about him. He's a pretty special human being to me for sure.
I love that so much. I know that the one like more formal power exchange relationship that I've had that lasted years was so hugely impactful on my life in ways that I will be grateful for forever, even though I'm no longer in that connection, totally open to, and I too had the feeling of like, this is the one and only, and I also had no idea how powerful it could be. And I'm definitely open to joining you in the land of submission again in divine timing. Do
I
you?
actually I still
Yeah.
enjoy a lot of the dominant play too. Like
Okay.
we have a switch
That's
night.
okay.
And
I was gonna. Do you still stay in touch with your dominant side? Yeah. Okay.
oh,
So
I
you
do.
do.
I definitely do. I have my little bratty side that comes out every now
Okay.
and again. That is, it's more of like a cutesy brat. I don't go like full brat like some other brats friends, specifically friends that I know. But I definitely have like a little bratty. Like I like to go poke the bear a little bit to see what he'll do. But when I get to do like my dom experiences with him, especially we just started doing this maybe a year or so ago. We'd been together for so long and I'd been, 24/7 sub. And he came to me, he's like, I've never experienced your Dom side. I'm quite curious about this. And I was like, I don't know if I can with you. Like
Right.
it's that like, oh my God, I have to perform because I just don't feel like a
Right.
Dom to you. I feel like a submissive to you. And we had a few drinks and we're in California, smoked a little bit of herb and was like, all right, I you want to see this? All right, I'm full force. We're gonna go for it. And I put on my leather boots. I got myself all dressed up. I had my gold plated pasties, like the whole bit. Grabbed my crop because crop for me is like my personal favorite thing to use on a
Mm,
guy is a
mm,
crop. And proceeded to walk him through a scene with me being the dominant and getting to lick him up and down and play with his all the things and practiced a little bit of anal play with him and told him that he was mine. He is my good boy. He is
mm.
everything. He's being so good, and walked him through this whole scene. And he was like, yeah, I kind of need that a little more often.
Wow. How
So
beautiful.
yeah, now it's like a regular occurrence where we get to have a switch night.
I love that so much. And again, my inspiration, because I have never yet switched roles with a partner. I've only had connections with people where it's like we occupy one or the other space. And for a while, I was like, oh, not possible, never possible. And then in the last couple years, I was like, well, no, just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean, okay, I'll hold space for maybe someday. So, ooh, that's so yummy. It's your OnlyFans? It must be a little more vanilla because I know that OnlyFans is a little more strict when it comes to the rules there.
Yeah,
So, kind of,
I've been nicked a couple of times for having some kinky
okay,
stuff up there. So
okay.
it seems like God, you hold a pencil the wrong way and they consider it a weapon. Like it's the
Yes.
stupidest things.
I shared an erotic writing and I talked about the shit getting spanked out of me. Like there was just one sentence. And so that was violence and fecal play. And I was like, It's euphemism and oh my God, it's a story. Okay. So yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, and I've even been nicked for having, like, people message me, like, I have,
Mm-hmm.
way back in the land of the only times, I I had a lot of water sports content,
Oh,
and it was like that's a big kink, and,
yeah.
yeah, you can't have any you can't even say water sports
Nope.
on OnlyFans. You can on Fansly, you cannot do it here on
Mm-hmm.
OnlyFans. So yeah, my OnlyFans is very much like it's toys. I have to be very, very specific about like, okay, this is a toy, especially the ones that look realistic. And I do a lot of
Mm.
POV. So I'll have like the dildo sitting, kind of like all your listeners can see what I'm doing right now. Like
Oh, if they're
it's
on
right here
YouTube,
at
they
the
can watch.
camera. And you position it in such a way where it looks like, it's the camera's being held by the person getting this thing done to them. And I'll go through like a JOI, hand job, blow job, and make it like something really special, like it's happening to them. And I got nicked because they thought it was a human. So now I have to do like a disclaimer at the beginning of the videos to say, this is a toy, just a heads up, then go into the whole thing, which kind of loses
Wow.
a little bit of like the magic of it, I feel like. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of stuff like that. Or it's my dom and I we play on there, but it's sex, it's blowjobs, it's that sort of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, that's the cruddy thing about OF. Fansly is quite a bit kinder to all of the things. So any of our fetish content or kinky content, it all goes on Fansly now.
Okay. Okay. Good to know. Okay. So is it mostly play stuff for you on OnlyFans or do you do educational content there? Like,
I don't. I used to have an educational one on OnlyFans, like a separate account that was education only. And back then, you could only have 2 accounts, and I have a free account and I have a VIP account.
hmm.
So I had to take down my education page because you weren't allowed to have 3. Now you're allowed to
Right.
have 3 apparently,
Oh, I didn't
but
know
I
that.
got so pissed. It was like, "You
Okay.
assholes, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to make you money." But be it as it may. So all of my educational content now lives on Substack, of all
Okay.
places.
Cool. Ooh, wait. So, like, what kind of stuff do you have there? Is it mostly writings or do you have?
It's video podcasts and stuff like that.
Okay.
So you're allowed to talk about, especially in the educational realm, you can talk about anything and everything on Substack, and it's one of the things that I absolutely adore about them.
Okay.
There's a lot of really fun Substacks that are very specific to femdom and to male submissives and things like that, and they share especially vintage images and things. I just posted not too long ago a brief history of the collar and the like basically from ancient times all the way up through today. So that I have living on Substack as well. Any of that sort of content, it all lives on Substack.
And then for people who are listening to this and are still like, wait, okay, so as a sexologist, you help people talk about sex. Give a few more details. So if someone is you curious, how do you love working with people in that capacity?
I'm very grateful that the clients that I have right now are actually my favorite type of clients to have. And that's usually couples that are looking to get into consensual non monogamy in some form or another. They've never been to a play party. They want to know, like, what do I do? How do I do this? What if something comes up? How do we talk about that sort of thing? And navigating a lot of it is actually gut checking. Like, okay, if you're feeling like this, you're valid. It's okay to feel that way. It's okay to step back and take the time to analyze why you're feeling that way. So it's a lot of the internal struggles that people go through when it comes to the anxiety of going to a play party or opening up about a specific kink. Funny enough, on Substack, I recently had somebody who was a longtime listener of my Submissive Next Door podcast, and I had talked to him a while ago just about he really enjoyed wearing women's clothes and lingerie and didn't know how to like bring that up to his lady and things like that. And I kind of walked him through some of the ways to open up and make sure that she understands this isn't about her, this is about something that's a need for you, and to be how to support yourself, support the relationship, and support her and her feelings, because she may feel uncomfortable at first until she understands it. And that's where a lot of discomfort comes from for people, is not understanding.
Mm.
It's the unknown. It's the unknown is scary as shit. So once you start educating yourself more, all of a sudden it's not such a scary thing, and you tend to find that you're a little bit more open with it. So this person had messaged me way back in the day, talked to him, and he just messaged me last week on Substack and said, "Hey, I want you to know I'm going through my trans surgery here soon." And I wanted to thank you because you made me feel seen and valid as a human being.
Mm.
And I had no idea that all these feelings I'd been having for so long, that this is where it would lead me. And I am the happiest I've ever been in my life. And I was like, wow, I screenshotted it. I saved that like to my phone because I was just like, this, if nothing else in my life happens, having that one message from that one person, by far one of the, it's better than having a degree. It's just, it was the most beautiful message to get from somebody. So yeah, that those are my favorite clients, is the ones where I get to just listen, hold space for them, and let them get out their fears, validate them and how they feel, and help them work through that inner work of like, okay, why are you feeling this way, and where is that coming from, where is that stemming from, and how do we move through it?
Yeah, I love that so much. What is your favorite thing to teach people or help them with?
Oh my gosh, I think my favorite thing to teach people, there's so many. Consensual non-monogamy is definitely one of them. Talking about kinks, just teaching people how to accept themselves and accept their partners,
Mm.
and accept that kink is everybody. I don't care who you are. There's very few people. I think vanilla, honestly, is the minority. I do not believe for a second that the entire universe is primarily made up of vanilla people. And when you start realizing what a kink is versus
Mhm.
what we are taught in society that it is,
Yeah.
you realize like, wow, I do have some certain preferences for certain things. I do have sort of that, I do really like man hands. I really like this. There's all those different things that you realize, but you, a lot of times it's that shame that comes with it, that you can't even bring yourself to admit that you like those things, but you know that your mind is attracted to it because you're thinking about it during sex, you're thinking
Mm.
about it during masturbation. It's talking through those sorts of things, I think, is my absolute favorite thing.
I love that so much. I hear from so many people who wrongly, I will say, accuse me of being like vanilla hating, which I'm like, vanilla's the foundation. Like, sensual vanilla is my favorite flavor. And also, humans are kinky. I just have spoken with so many people who identify as vanilla and also straight, and then have proclivities that I would not put in those categories. But I'm also like, all right, well, we all are on our own journey, one step
we're,
at a
we're
time.
desensitized to vanilla.
Yeah, or we just have our own conscious or unconscious definition of what it is or isn't. And so I'm like, all right. So that's why I love just talking to people, getting more details. What for work and or play? What are your hopes, goals, dreams, etc. going forward?
Oh man, more orgasms, more pleasure. That's really the that's it. Everything else is kind of the gravy on top
Okay.
to help get you there, but those are definitely the big ones. But for real though, right now I have so many different ventures. I definitely want to see being able to focus a lot more on like educational content. I love writing. I absolutely love writing. So I have my educational stuff that is continuing to be published. I try to do at least one article or some sort that is sexology or kink education related a week. And then I also am doing a lot of erotica writing. I've recently started getting back into doing audio porn, which is so much fun. And I'm getting a lot of good feedback from people on Reddit, on the audio Gone Wild, or Gone Wild audio.
Yes.
So that's definitely a venture. I would love to see being able to do more of that. I am going to start releasing more fetish specific content on Fansly, which I'm very excited about because I've had a lot of requests to bring it back, and so now I'm going to be doing that. And then, of course, like my art business and my wearable art, all of this stuff is, I'm going to several fantasy balls coming up this year. I've gotten to go to so many already, but oh my God, they are so much fun. And you find so many kinky people at fantasy balls, and it's like the underground shit that you don't know about.
That's so cool. Did you have a literal bucket list, or was it like a just kind of like things you want to do bucket list? Like, I'm always just when I hear that word and I'm like, that phrase, I'm like, perk up.
There's definitely like, I have my bucket list of like, okay, if I have unlimited funds
Yeah, yeah.
and I have unlimited time to make this happen, like one bucket list, for example, my partner and I, we travel. He's lived in like 5 different countries.
Mhm.
He's been to like 30 of them, and I'm slowly growing my repertoire of where we've been. And it's always interesting to see how sex is represented in other cultures around the world. We're actually quite prudish here in the United States. Not sure if
Mm-hmm.
people realize that, but we
Mm-hmm.
really are.
Mm-hmm.
So going to different places, and our bucket list is to fuck on every continent at least once. So yeah,
Yes.
that's the big one is
Oh,
again, time and money,
yeah. Yeah.
but we're gathering, we're getting there.
Plus, also the first step is just being open to allowing the possibility. So that's amazing. Okay, so speaking of fantasies and unlimited budgets, if you had an unlimited budget to design your very own play palace, dungeon, I mean, it sounds like you have designed your bedroom. So tell us about your actual bedroom and then, like, tell us about the fantasy palace version if someone was like, all right, it's your job to build us this pleasure palace. Like, tell us what exists now, tell us what you would create.
Oh man. So our bedroom is we call it incognito. So there's a lot of things that are there that look like one thing, but are actually, have like a hidden, hook or something that's, meant for bondage. Which is great. It serves its purpose. It's fabulous. But, we have humans that run around and we have
Yeah.
to be on the down low. That's another thing that I absolutely love getting to talk to is other parents and trying to
Mhm.
like validate, like, yes, you're fine. You can totally have your sex life. It's, you keep it under wraps. That's it.
Yeah.
So for my personal sex room, if I were to, if money was no object, and I have seen, and taken so many notes of how to build a sex room with Melanie Rose, I got lucky enough to go and see her in person and see her do demonstrations on different ways to put together sex rooms and things like that. It was part of like the stock room that was here in LA for
Yeah.
one the Vibe Expo that I went to, and she is just a phenomenal. The way she is on that show is exactly how she is in person. She is just the sweetest lady, and just she has so many amazing ideas. So I have like we have the Liberator and a few different versions of the Liberator couch and all that kind of stuff. But I would want to design something that is very vampire. I have a thing for vampires and fantasy and castles and things like that. I and plus I'm really into, especially right now, Fourth Wing and all those
Yes.
books.
Oh my
Um,
God. I read them all. Yep.
love me a shadow daddy.
But
Oh
those
my God, do I love
cliffhangers,
this?
the cliffhangers and the extremeness. Okay. Yeah.
And it's just so good. I'm just thinking like, God, there's so many things that you could do with shadows, shadow
Hmm.
play, and all of that. So I would definitely have a room that was like dedicated to that sort of genre of just like the ultimate fantasy, and fantasy being like dragons and fae and being in a castle in a dungeon that's opulent and beautiful and classy, but there has to be a drain in the middle of the room for
Yes,
sure
for sure.
for all the fluids. I would definitely need hooks on the ceiling. I'm also a certified aerial yoga instructor from way back when. So
Ooh.
having all of my silks being able to be there so that I can be fucked in my aerial silk at the same time, all that stuff, that would be part of it. And it would probably be closer to like a two-bedroom house
Yeah.
rather than just a single room because
Oh
I get
yeah.
hungry in the middle of it. I want a kitchen I can go fuck in as well.
Absolutely. Oh, at least two bedroom. Yeah. Okay. I love that so much. Okay. It's not your job to answer this question definitively. This is just a brainstorm noodle for us all. How do you think we collectively can co-create a sexier, more loving world together?
Uh, Honestly, the way that we get to, in my opinion, this is just my personal opinion, and I've said this for years, that I believe that more pleasure and more orgasms can save the world. If we have if we just were to take an extra 5-10 minutes out of our day for self pleasure, for touching ourselves. It doesn't have to even lead to an orgasm, but exploring our body, figuring out what we enjoy. The endorphins alone of the amount of just change that would be created in our heads of having so much more positivity. Like our brains, depending on how we go throughout our day, if we are mostly negative, our brain is going to be wired for fucking negativity. And we're going to see it in absolutely anything and everything, including ourselves and everyone else. But if you spend that time to rewire your brain through things like self pleasure, self love, affirmations, I firmly believe that the entire world would be a better place.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion.
I think so too. I agree. More pleasure, more orgasms was yes, yes, yes. Okay, lastly, tell us, how do you like to spread ripples of love?
Oh my gosh. For me, ripples of love, it's something very, very small. And just a smile to somebody that maybe I it's funny, my mom was the one who taught me this, that when you're out and you're at a grocery store, you're out and you're doing your errands or whatever, take a moment to just find one individual to catch their eye and smile at them, because that may be the only smile that they get to see all day. And that smile will spread to the next person. They'll be more inclined to share that. And just those very small things lead to a monumental change for the rest of their lives. And they may not even realize it. So for me, it's the very, very small things, opening a door for somebody, saying thank you to somebody, or telling them that they look beautiful that day, or maybe the only kind thing that they hear in the entire day, especially for a parent. Trust me.
Yeah, yeah, that's huge. Oh, well, thank you for coming here today to help us spread ripples of love by sharing your stories. And thank you much for just sharing from the wealth of your wisdom. And lovers, you can find Tiffany at tiffanychanofficial.com and beacons.ai/Kippany. Links are in the description below. Thank you so much, sweet friend.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, go have a beautiful, pleasurable day as well.